Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you've ever just sat there staring at a blinking cursor, completely terrified of making a formatting mistake that's going to tank your research paper, well, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're going to take the often daunting APA 7th edition formatting rules and transform them from a frustrating list of chores into a totally intuitive, logical blueprint for building your academic arguments. I want you to start thinking of yourself not just as a writer, but as an architect of information.
So here's our project framework for today. We'll start with the foundational golden rule, move right through mastering in-text citations and the author decision tree, build out the reference list blueprint, figure out how to cite modern AI sources, and finally pass our ultimate quality assurance inspection.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the foundation and the golden rule.
Okay, it's like building a house, right? Every solid structure absolutely needs a perfect foundation, which brings us to the core, undeniable rule of the whole APA system. We call it the golden rule. It states that every single in-text citation must have an exact mirroring entry in your reference list. No exceptions. If you mention an author in the body of your paper, your reader has to be able to flip to the back and find the complete blueprint for that source. Doing this creates an unbreakable thread between your text and your foundation.
Moving right along to Section 2, Mastering In-Text Citations.
So, let's look at the micro-components. If the reference list is your foundation, in-text citations are the literal nails and screws holding your specific ideas together. You have to deploy these in 3 specific scenarios. First, when you paraphrase, that means you're taking an author's concept but rewriting it in your own words. Second, when you summarize, which is basically condensing a big section of a source into a quick high-level overview. And third, when you quote directly. And please burn this into your brain. Exact, direct quotes always demand a specific page number. You literally have to tell the reader exactly where to find those words.
Now, you've got a choice to make on how to actually format those citations. You essentially have 2 distinct approaches. Number 1 is the narrative citation. This is where the author's name drives the sentence itself, so the focus is really on the person, like Smith and Jones argued. And notice there, you actually spell out the word and. On the flip side, we have the parenthetical citation. This one focuses heavily on the research itself. The author's names are just tucked away in parentheses at the very end of the sentence, and here you use an ampersand instead of spelling out and. It's a subtle distinction, sure, but it totally dictates the rhythm of your academic voice.
Next up, Section 3, the author decision tree.
But what happens when you've got a whole team of architects working on a single paper? It's a super common problem. How do we give rigorous credit to multiple authors without letting long, clunky lists of names completely clutter up our cleanly built arguments? Well, the 7th edition gives us a really straightforward fix called the author decision tree. It goes like this. If there's one author, just apply the standard format. Easy. If there are 2 authors, you always cite both of them every single time. But, and here is the game changer, if a paper has 3 or more authors, that triggers a highly efficient simplifying rule right from the very first time you cite it.
I like to call this rule the et al. Eraser. Et al. Is just a Latin phrase that means and others. In APA 7th edition, you slap this in immediately for any source with 3 or more authors to keep your text looking clean. So instead of listing out 5 different researchers, you just write the first author's last name, followed by et al. But actually pay really close attention to this tiny detail. The period only goes after the al. Et is a whole word in Latin, but al is an abbreviation. It's a super minor detail, but professors literally always check for it.
All right, jumping into Section 4, the reference list blueprint.
Let's look at the macro structure at the very end of your paper. Every single reference entry, whether we're talking about a dusty old printed book, a peer-reviewed journal, or a brand new website, is built using a sequential 4-step source code. I call it the 4 Ws. 1. Who created it? 2. When was it published? 3. What is it called? And 4. Where can it be found? Honestly, if you master this sequence, you can confidently cite absolutely anything the world throws at you. So, when you actually put this together on the page, your visual blueprint requires a bold, centered title that simply says References. Then, you double-space everything, sort all your entries alphabetically by the author's last name, and, this is key, apply a precise 0.5-inch hanging indent for any line after the first in each entry. That hanging indent is absolutely crucial. It makes the author's name pop out to the left, which lets your reader scan down the whole list instantly.
Oh, and here's a massive trap a lot of people fall into. The capitalization divide. The rules completely shift depending on what you're citing. For the titles of books and individual articles, you have to use sentence case. That means for a book titled The Psychology of Learning, you would literally only capitalize the word the. But you switch over to title case for the names of the journals or magazines themselves, capitalizing all the major words, like Journal of Educational Psychology. You got to keep that divide clear in your head, and remember that book and journal titles generally need proper italics applied too.
Which brings us to Section 5, Citing Digital and AI Sources.
You might be wondering, how does this rigid, old-school blueprint handle the wild, rapidly evolving digital landscape? We're not just citing library books anymore, but the APA system is surprisingly resilient. You can actually cite AI tools like ChatGPT seamlessly just by mapping them back to those 4 Ws we talked about. OpenAI is treated as the who, the author. The specific year of the version you used acts as the when, the model name, like ChatGPT, is the what, and you put the fact that it's a large language model in brackets. Finally, the specific chat URL serves as the where. The framework doesn't break, it adapts perfectly.
And finally, Section 6, Quality Assurance.
Okay, before we hand over the keys to our completed building, we have to perform a rigorous final inspection. A huge update in the 7th edition that still trips up even really experienced writers is that you no longer include the publisher's geographic city or state. You don't write New York, Pearson anymore. You just drop the location entirely and list the publisher's name directly, just Pearson. It makes everything look so much cleaner, just like double-checking your titles to ensure proper italics are neatly applied where they need to be.
Look, cross-checking your in-text citations against your reference list isn't just academic busywork. It is the vital final inspection that guarantees the quality of your work. It guarantees accuracy, meaning you're honoring the source material. It ensures consistency, giving your audience a predictable reading experience. It provides clarity by removing annoying formatting distractions from your main argument. And most importantly, it guarantees integrity, building a rock-solid foundation of honest scholarship.
So, here's the big question as we wrap up. Will you view APA formatting as this frustrating, arbitrary list of rules designed just to punish you? Or will you master it as a powerful architectural blueprint that gives undeniable weight, credibility, and authority to your academic voice? The tools are literally right here in front of you. Go out there and build something great. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and happy writing.